Welcome to the Buzz Around Texoma. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jason Taylor, in for Emily Nielsen, who has parted ways with us. Said, she had a better opportunity, so we want to wish her the luck, all the luck with that. So thank you for what you have done, Emily, up to this point. So today we actually have got with us Brina Dutton, and I'm going to refer to my notes as we go along, Brina, if you're okay with that. Brina is going to talk to us today about things that she has going on with two different entities. First of all, there is the Owen Academy, LLC.
Yes.
You're the executive director of that, correct? And then there's also the Owen Foundation, and they're both located up in Durant, right off of Main Street. So, if you don't mind, well, let's start with the foundation.
Sure. And I do like to say the foundation I started it in 2021. And we do have an office in Durant, but, my husband and I, we're from Sherman. Well, he's from Sherman, but we've lived here for 20 years. And we most definitely service all of Texoma.
Right.
So, and in fact, a few of the initiatives that we have with the foundation is our all-inclusive sports camps. And so this is our 5th year to do basketball camp. And this year, this July, which people can find this on our website, theowenfoundation.org, we are having our basketball camp at Grayson College. So even though we're out of Durant and that's where we office, we're very active in all of Texoma. So we're excited to service the entire area.
We're talking with Brina Dutton with the Owen Foundation and the Owen Academy. We're talking about the foundation right now. So explain a little bit, Brina, if you will, what you do at the foundation,
Sure.
What it is specifically.
Yeah, so to backtrack a little bit, my son Owen is who it was named after. I also have a son, Carter, who just turned 16, which is crazy. But Owen is 9, and when he was 3, he was diagnosed with autism.
Okay.
And that was, I believe, in 2018. And his diagnosing physician out of Grapevine said he needs 40 hours a week of ABA therapy. I wasn't sure what that was, but Googled it and quickly learned that there weren't any ABA facilities at that time in the Sherman-Denison area. And so we started driving to Frisco every day. And by we, I mean me, because my husband was our, breadwinner, and I was able to, had a boutique at the time. I closed my boutique to make my full-time job taking Owen to therapy. And that whole process was just such an eye-opener for me, because I realized that so many families were in that same situation. When your child gets that diagnosis, you have to make that your life. We were able to do that, and I was able to literally make my full-time job getting him to therapy, because 40 hours means 5 days a week, right? That's the same hours that we work at our jobs. And so for 3 years, I drove him to Frisco every day to ABA therapy. And somewhere along the way, just thought, there have to be other moms specifically, but parents who are going through this same thing in Sherman, Denison, Durant, our Texoma area, and don't have the resources. Maybe they can't quit their job and drive to Frisco every day to get their child therapy. So when we started the foundation, therapy has always been in the back of my mind, and we'll talk about that later, I assume, about the Owen Academy. But the big thing that we wanted to do was for the Owen Foundation to be a resource hub for families. Connect with us, let us know, are you looking for, things that you encounter as an autism parent? Like, I need a dentist that's really great with autism kiddos. I need a pediatrician. I need, there's just so many resources that are out there, and we wanted all those resources to sort of be under one umbrella, and that's what the foundation is for. Secondarily, we wanted to offer all-inclusive events for our kids to be able to be a part of that, they could be proud of too. So, for example, my son Owen loves basketball. He's had a basketball in his hand ever since I can remember. He may have been dribbling before he was walking, I'm not sure, but he loves basketball. And so I said, I want to have a basketball camp for our kids, not just with autism, but any sort of special needs or extra needs.
Right.
And so that was one of the first things that we did was offer that basketball camp, and we had such a huge response to that. The first year we had it was in 2021. So this year will actually be our 5th year to host the camp, which I'm really excited about. We've got some years under our belt, and we kind of, know what we're doing now. And that's good because the basketball camp has grown in numbers year over year. Last year we serviced over 100 kids at our basketball camp. So, and that's with very little marketing. And it's picked up a lot of traction over the last few years. So we're anticipating about 125 to 150 kids at this year's camp.
Well, at your camp this year, you're talking about having that many kids. Obviously, it takes an astounding amount of volunteers.
It does, and I'm glad you said that because we need volunteers.
Okay,
and people can register to volunteer on our website. It's the owenfoundation.org/volunteer. And it's really important that people fill out that form. It takes literally 30 seconds to fill it out because that is how we contact each volunteer. That's how we get their t-shirt size. That's how they sign their liability waiver. So don't message us or message me personally. Go to the website and fill out that volunteer form. And then probably about 2 weeks before camp, you'll get a text message from our volunteer coordinator, and they will give you the rundown.
Okay.
And this year we're also doing something a little different. We, in years past, we haven't really been able to have all of our volunteers together under one roof to do a training.
Right.
So we're sending out a training video. And that training video is just to say, hey, these are some things that you could possibly expect because they are going to be one-on-one with the kids. So if we have 125 kids at camp, we need 125 volunteers.
Right.
So, and we're not only doing the basketball camp this year. So each year we've added sports.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 years ago, we added cheer clinic for the first time. Yes, and we're super excited about that. That's grown. And then this year is our first year to partner with Texoma FC.
Oh, you're doing
our
soccer.
Professional soccer.
Yes,
team,
you're doing soccer.
Football. But yeah, so we have partnered with them, and our first all-inclusive, and as far as I know, Texoma's first all-inclusive soccer camp is this year, June 20th and 21st, and it will be here at the historic Sherman Bearcat Stadium, just really close by.
Right. Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're going to do that. It's going to be a Friday afternoon camp and a Saturday morning. And then here's the kicker and the fun part. The kids that come to the camp and their families get the opportunity to come back Saturday evening to the actual game and walk out on the field with the professional players.
That's fantastic.
So we're really excited about that.
Yeah.
And
Don't
we
Simon
need volunteers for that. Too,
Okay, so for that one as well.
Yes, and it's not too late to sign up as a volunteer.
We have known Simon Kaiser. Me and my wife have known Simon for many years. Good man, good heart. So that's awesome that you're doing that. So, by the way, what we'll do if we can get some help from Austin, he's going to put he'll put the link up on the screen. So you just refer back to that and help out if you can. We have having had a child of our own who was diagnosed with autism. One of the things there are struggles that parents have.
Oh,
the kids, a lot of times the kids, they are loners for the best. A lot of them, just feel very comfortable on their own. And for me, when my daughter was very young, it would crush me to see.
Crushes us more than
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was going to say. Yeah, and it's just like, but a lot of times, with what and the reason I'm bringing this up is because of what I want to talk to you about next. But a lot of times being able to talk to or listen to other parents who have been through it, it makes you go, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
And is that why you started your podcast?
It is. And that's so funny because I was about to say that's why we started the podcast. It's funny being an autism parent, and I've always had this innate, I want to connect with people and I want to do things to make people feel good about themselves. And just, I always want to lift other people up. And so I think along the way of going through these things as an autism mom, I'm always going to be evolving. We started the foundation, and then a few years later started the podcast, and then a few years later started the ABA clinic. And it's just I just will always be doing things to make there be more resources for our area and for our parents and kids because it's so needed. And I know how lonely I felt as a parent, and And it wasn't that I didn't have tons of family and friends, because I did, but it's just that they just didn't get it. And that was okay.
Yeah, because you lived at 24/7.
Yes, I lived at 24/7, and they may see my son when he's doing really great, or maybe he is having a meltdown, and they just think, okay, well, that's like a one-time thing, or that doesn't happen very often. And in those early years, it was all the time, before he got a couple of years of therapy under his belt. So, I mean, I think we're just always evolving and trying to get out in the community, see what the need is, and then fill that need. And that's kind of what we did with the podcast,
I love the name, by the way.
Mighty Moms Podcast. It's so funny because I don't even know how we came up with that, but I know that it just came to us, and we're like, that's what it's going to be. And then we had to make sure there weren't any other Mighty Moms podcasts out there. But so my podcast co-host is Dee Dee Gallegos. And Dee Dee had a long-term career at the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. She had an incident where her son eloped, and he was, I believe, 10 or 11 at the time. And it was a very scary situation. He was actually missing for an hour to 2 hours, and he was found safe, thank goodness. But when I met her, I was introduced to her from a mutual friend. She said, you need to meet Dee Dee. She's an autism mom. Her son was older. And I know you guys had told me you have a daughter who's older. And I just want to say, like, I don't know how you did it. I know you did it, and it was hard, but I don't know how you did it, because I can't imagine, with the lack of resources that I felt like we had 10 years ago, how much more significant that lack of resource was 20 years ago or 25 years ago.
And not trying to take it to a faith thing, but a lot of faith, a lot of love.
It has to
we had there's a lady by the name of Carrie Kai, if you know Tony.
I know Carrie Kai, yes.
We consider Carrie to be our angel on earth.
I love Carrie Kai. Yeah. I had a photo op with her a few weeks ago, because she's over the special education department at Denison, and they adopted our sticker program, which I can also tell you about. It's autism safety stickers that we provide from the Owen Foundation. So we do so another thing that I encountered as a mom was, I always had that thought, especially driving with Owen to Frisco to therapy. I thought, if we were to get into a car accident and I was unconscious and he was okay, and emergency management came, got him out of the car and said, hey, buddy, I need you to sit right here.
Right.
For whatever reason, he was left alone for even a few seconds, he could run into traffic. Right. So we needed a way to, mark our cars, mark our homes, and say, and of course this is optional, but it's a service that needed to be offered. And so the Owen Foundation has stickers that we can create in conjunction with any city's police department or city hall, school, that we can provide, that families can get for free to put on their car window or their home window, to let emergency management personnel that they may be encountering someone with autism or an intellectual disability.
I never thought of that.
That's a great idea. So we actually just implemented that with Sherman PD, Denison PD, Durant PD, and then we had Bogue Chitto, Oklahoma reach out to us and want to do it as well. And then Antlers is in the works. And then we had Denison ISD reach out to us and want to do it. So we provided those stickers for their school as well. And so it's just a great program.
So if other school districts, because I think that's great for the school districts, or just a parent in general, if you're in that situation, would they contact you for that?
So if you are a parent wanting a sticker for your car, and you live in Sherman, Denison, Durant, Bogue Chitto, any of those areas, you can contact your local police department or just go by and they'll have those stickers there.
Okay.
We do keep some at our office in Durant, but I believe they have the Durant PD logo on them. But if you are a city or you want it to be available in your city, you can reach out to us at info@theowenfoundation.org.
You'll see that at the bottom of your screen there as well. So I know I hijacked it away a little bit off the podcast, but the reason I want to bring that up is because here we are talking about doing a podcast here.
Yeah.
You've been doing this podcast for a couple of years. You've been broadcasting, to 18 different countries?
I think so. So
last year?
My podcast co-host, Dee Dee, she keeps up with all that, and she does all the technical side. I would just show up and talk. But I believe so. I do believe at the beginning of the year we posted something about our Buzzsprout. That's like you upload your podcast to it and then it puts it out to all the podcast platforms.
Our technical engineer Austin Hyder would know what that is.
Yes, I know. That's same. So I'm really proud of myself for remembering that, and I hope I got it right. But I do believe it said it went out to 18 countries, and it's crazy. Certain topics that we talk about, which I won't mention today because I don't want it to be controversial, but certain topics that we talk about get a lot of downloads. So we are actually taking a little hiatus for the summer break, and we decided we need to do that every year because we need a break too.
They got to recharge.
Yes. And so Mighty Moms Podcast has a big autism conference. This past April was our second annual autism conference. It was held at the Gordon Event Center in Durant. Next year, we will have to have it somewhere else because we were busting at the seams. And every time we do something like that and so many people show up, it just lets me know in my heart, like, hey, we're doing the right thing.
Right.
And also, there's such a need for all things autism. There is just such a need for that connection and resources and activities for our children to do. And so that's why we will always just keep going, and I feel like when you're living in your purpose and your passion, that God gives you that energy to be able to do those things. And that doesn't mean I don't get exhausted.
No.
Because I do. But I feel like, I was just talking to a friend the other day and she's like, I love everything that you're doing. I just don't know how you do it. And I said, well, I just do it. Like, it's just my life. It's
your passion.
It's my passion and I'm living in my purpose. And so, yeah, we've got, autism conference. I'm hosting the Chamber Coffee Networks and at Durant for the month of June. I have a summit with my employees next week for 2.5 days. And we have soccer camp. And then I go to Boston with my son for a week for school after that. And then we have basketball camp and cheer clinic. But it's like, you just do it,
right.
And it's like when you know that you're changing lives and that your team is changing lives and that it's just a trickle effect and you're creating this energy in your community that's helpful and uplifting and positive, you just do it. And it just comes.
That's great. That's wonderful. So before we take a break here, I do want to touch one last thing on the podcast. They can find that on
all podcast platforms. Okay. So YouTube, Spotify. Yeah. Episodes. I will say, if you go to our YouTube account, which is at Mighty Moms Podcast, you can see video too. And Dee Dee and I are pretty goofy, so it's pretty interesting to watch. But if you want video and audio, YouTube. If you are driving and you just want to do audio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, wherever you get your podcasts.
Fantastic. Again, that's Mighty Moms Podcast. Look for that. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to also talk to Brina about the other passion in her life. It's called the Owen Academy. Stick around. Welcome back to the Buzz Around Texoma. Of course, it's a service of B99.7 The Buzz and KLBC 106.3. It's all brought to you by The Point Restaurant. You see their logo on the back, and we certainly appreciate Tyler and the gang for sponsoring the Buzz Around Texoma. It's a complete service to Texoma. Our guest today is Brina Dutton, and we asked her to be on the show. If you want to be on the show because you have an event coming up, or there's a new business, or there's buzz about a new business or stuff going on in the Texoma area, that's what we're here for. It's a public service. You can reach out to Patrick at klbcfm.com, or you can email myself, Jason at klbcfm.com. Once again, I'm Jason Taylor. Back to Brina. I got it right? I just realized I said that wrong two times.
Because it's so close.
Okay. Well, Brina, thank you for being here once again. We talked the first half of the show about the Owen Foundation. That spawned another love in your life, didn't it?
Yeah. So, before Owen's diagnosis, I had a life, right? Believe it or not. And so before that, I actually owned a children's boutique here in Texoma. It was Posh Little Pig.
I remember that.
Okay. So I had that store for 10 years total, 3 or 4 years downtown and the rest of the time at the Sherman Town Center.
Mm-hmm.
And about the time Owen was getting diagnosed, our lease was up to renew. And it just was like, this is not where my focus should be, right? Before I had my boutique, I was in outside medical sales. So I worked for a few different companies that opened sleep labs and sleep clinics.
Mm-hmm.
The sleep lab that's in Baylor, Scott and White, it used to be Heritage Park. It's the one over off by Swami Drive.
Right. And yes.
So there is a sleep lab there, or there was the last time I was there. And I actually helped facilitate opening that sleep lab and staffing it. So my whole point in saying this is that I had experience in opening medical facilities. That was sort of what my career was before I opened my boutique. And then Owen got his diagnosis, and then my full-time job was taking Owen to Frisco for therapy. And then we started the foundation and just saw how much of a need there was, right? And this whole time, I'm still driving Owen to therapy in Frisco. And then at one point, after we started the foundation, I went to an event in Dallas where there were tons of ABA facilities set up like vendor tables. And I literally went table to table and said, have you considered opening in Sherman, Texas? There's a need. I've met so many moms through my foundation. I could have your clinic full in 60 days. Wow. Like, please open in Sherman. Families need you here. Never once did I consider opening my own. And one day it hit me and I thought, why have I not done this? Like, I have been put in this position and, I don't know how spiritual you like to get, but that scripture, what the devil means for harm, God's going to make it good. And I know I just put it into my own words, but I feel like, my son's diagnosis may have seemed detrimental at the time, but there's so much good that we can do with that. And so I know that if there's something that God gives you to do, he's going to make it happen, right? If you put in the work, he's going to make it happen. And so finally, the end of 2023, I talked to my husband and I said, I'm just at a place now. We've got Owen, I wasn't having to drive to Frisco anymore. We had Owen here. I had a little bit more time. I had time to regroup and just sort of find my identity again, because my identity was taking him and just being there for him. And I thought, why are we not opening our own ABA facility? We find the right people to who have experience in ABA and the right clinicians that fit our culture and the vibe that we want. And so that's where the Owen Academy was born.
Brina, that took a lot of courage.
It really did, and we were in a really comfortable place and we had to, spend savings to open it. But we decided to open it in Durant because it was an underserved area. Even though, I feel like there are enough children with autism in Grayson County that we could have 4 or 5 more facilities here, and it's still really not tap into the need.
Right.
But that said, Durant had none. And so we decided to open in Durant. I'm originally from Atoka County.
Okay.
Went to school at Southeastern.
Okay.
So I felt like it was my calling to open there. And we decided on a location in downtown Durant. It's not your typical like medical facility location. So a lot of people were like, okay, interesting. Then they come visit our facility and they say, oh my gosh, I see it now. Like I see it. And it's playful. It's vibrant. The kids are active in the community. We go to the Corner Crust and grab pizza. If their parents request, we take them to Ferguson Barber Co. and get a haircut. So they're going into those with their therapist. They're going into those situations in the community that prepare them for those moments when they're with their parents. In the
What ages do you serve?
Ages 2 to 12.
2 to 12. Okay, you go to 12.
Yeah.
One of the things, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but having been having a daughter with autism, one of the things that we had to fight for, and my wife deserves deserves the utmost credit for this. We had to fight for an IEP.
Yes.
And again, playing back to, we were fortunate that our daughter went to Hyde Park, and Regina, yes, and Carrie were there, and they were. Those two, if it wasn't for Regina Priggy and Carrie Kai, they fought to help us get that IEP.
Yeah. And that's so.
And a lot of parents don't know how to go around
to me, and they don't stand up. They don't know that all of the control is the parent. I mean, you have the control because your child has rights.
Right.
And that's a whole other podcast.
Right.
We'll get your wife on here with us and we'll talk about it. We'll bring Carrie in and we'll talk about it.
She and my wife and definitely would be the one to talk to, but it's just a wonderful thing that you do, and that's why I'm saying with 12, because one of the things that I found, going back to when a kid with autism, when a child with autism, they may, they're for my daughter, a way to calm her down was spinning.
Yes.
So we bought her a chair. Yes. She wore the carpet out in her room when she was young.
This needs to be talked about, because a lot of times whenever people see our children stimming in public, they think, oh, they have no control, or you have no control over your child, or they're acting out. No, they're trying to regulate themselves. And that needs to be okay.
Right.
It needs to be okay.
Right.
And I went from just being mortified of what people would think about Owen's stems, or his vocal stems is a huge one for me, because he loves to make this Donald Duck sound, like a quack, right? And I would just say, shh, and now I just do it with him.
Right.
Right. I'm just going to make the sound with you.
Right.
And we're both going to do it. And people can look at both of us, because every time they see that or they encounter that, it becomes more normal.
Right. And hopefully if they smile, they laugh in joy with.
And you know what I found most people do? I think a lot of it is our own insecurities as parents. Now, I'm not saying I haven't gotten unsolicited advice before in public places about how to, make my child mine.
You probably handled that better than I did.
I'm not sure. We'll see. I'm sure there's a Facebook post about it somewhere. But I know that if we are in public, I get more compassion than I get the opposite.
Right.
I really do. And I think most people are more compassionate. I think it's just our own insecurities going into it, thinking that people are judging us.
Right.
So when we get past that, we move beyond that and we say, I'm going to let my child be themselves, and we're going to go into public. And as long as they're not hurting anyone else or themselves, then we're good.
That's That's good.
So I think that I do my best to try to help other moms see it that way as well.
That's great. And that's what
I don't want them to feel embarrassed of their,
alone
or feel like they have to
or misunderstood,
and they can't go
right. Exactly. We know my wife Lisa. We took Addie everywhere.
I love that.
One of the things that we'll say, the Owen Academy.
Yes.
Does it have its own website?
It does. It's the owenacademy.com.
You'll see it on the screen.
Owenacademy.com.
And so if you service 2 to 12 or 3 to 12, do you have room? Do you have openings for kids that are needed?
We do. This is insane to say out loud, and I don't take pride in this because I hate that a kid ever gets waitlisted when they need therapy. Right. But our wait list is over 90 kids right now.
Wow.
So, and I love that we have this platform to be able to talk about what the process is, if you don't mind.
No, please, let's go.
Okay, so we are a medical facility, right? And so when children come for therapy, it runs through their insurance, just like if you go to your doctor's office or speech therapy or occupational therapy, whatever it may be. And so we are really at the mercy of insurance guidelines, right? And so we have all the protocol that we have to do from an insurance perspective, but it's a one-on-one therapy service. So for every child that we onboard, once their insurance approves everything, we have to have a therapist one-on-one that we have to hire, right? Wow. So when you open an ABA facility in a city where there's never been ABA, then you are recruiting, you are getting people certified as a registered behavior technician, and then you're getting them credentialed with their insurance companies. Mm-hmm. So that process can take 2 to 3 months.
Wow.
So we are adding children as quickly as we can. We've already, we purchased our first building, and then 3 months ago leased another building that's next door to us, so that we have another 2,000 square feet. Wow. To make room for the kids. And right. But to needless to say, we are always recruiting. Right. So if anybody is looking for a career in ABA therapy, please reach out to us. You can actually find all that on our website as well.
Again, the owenacademy.com. You'll see it at the bottom of the screen. Before I let you go,
yes.
First,
there's so much more that we can
there is. And I would tell you this.
Part 2.
I want to have a part 2 with you down the line.
Great.
And it's great work that you're doing. Is there anything, one last thing, that we could that you want to touch on?
Yeah, I guess the big thing that's coming up is all of our camps, and it's not too late. I'm not sure when this will air, but it's not too late for people to register their kids for our camps, and then also to register as volunteers for the camps, and all of that. And we're going back to the foundation, can be found on our website at theowenfoundation.org, and you can find all 3 of our camps listed, and then you can find the volunteer tab and sign up as a volunteer. And we also still need sponsors. Okay. So if there are any businesses who see what we're doing, like what we're doing, and want their name attached to what we're doing, please reach out to us, because we still need sponsors. Each camp costs around $5,000, and we have 3 within a 4-week period. Wow. So
yeah, so sponsors
for that.
Yeah, come in. All both of those websites you'll see on the screen. Click on either or both, and please get a hold of Brina here. And man, great work you guys are doing.
Thank you, and thank you for having me and letting me have a platform to get all this out.
You are invited back anytime.
Okay, great. Okay? Thank you.
You bet. Once again, Brina Dutton with the Owen Academy and the Owen Foundation. Great story. Remember, we do the Buzz Around Texoma every Thursday is when you'll see it drop on YouTube at noon. So make sure you tell your friends about it. It's all about Texoma. We don't focus on anything but things going on right here in the Texoma land area. And if you have an event coming up, once again, if you know of a new business coming into town or anything that has to do with Texoma in general, we want to hear from you. You can reach out to Patrick at klbcfm.com. You can even email myself, Jason Taylor, at jason@klbcfm.com. Thank you again, Brina. We'll be back next week with our next edition of the Buzz Around Texoma.